There is a voice inside you at 72 that whispers something no one talks about. It comes on a quiet evening, usually after supper has been cleared, and the house has settled into that hush only older homes seem to know. You are standing at the kitchen sink, rinsing the last cup, and the voice says, almost tenderly, "I am not what I used to be." And then, softer still, and I do not know how to say that out loud. My friend, if you have heard that voice, sit with me a little while. Pour yourself something warm. Turn the lamp on low. Let the world outside your window keep on turning without you for the next few minutes. Because tonight I want to talk with you, not at you, about the small and quiet things we do after 70 that steal our independence one thread at a time. Not the loud mistakes, not the ones that show up in an emergency room, the hidden ones, the ones that live inside our own thinking, long before they ever show up in our bodies. And I want to begin, not with what you are doing wrong, because you are not doing anything wrong, but with what you are feeling. Because the body follows the mind, and the mind follows the story we tell ourselves in the dark. So let us name it, gently. The inner experience so many of us carry after 70 is not fear of death. Most of us made peace with that years ago, somewhere between a spouse's passing and a grandchild's baptism. No, the thing we rarely say aloud is smaller and sharper than that. It is the fear of becoming a bother. The fear of the phone call our children will one day take from a hospital. The fear of the moment we set down the car keys for the last time. The fear that the person we have been for 80 years is quietly being replaced, week by week, by someone slower, someone smaller, someone who has to ask for help getting up from a low chair. We do not say these things at the coffee hour after church. We do not say them to our daughters. We hardly even say them to ourselves. But they are there, my friend. And they shape almost every decision we make about our own health, usually without us realizing it. So let us begin at the surface where all of this shows itself first. In what we do, on the surface, the hidden mistake looks like this. You stop drinking water because it makes you get up in the night, and getting up in the night has begun to feel dangerous. You skip the second walk of the day because the sidewalk has a crack in it, and last winter, you nearly slipped. You stop calling your friend Margaret because the last 3 times you called, you could not remember the name of the book you meant to tell her about. And the pause on the line felt like a small humiliation. You eat the same 3 meals in rotation because standing at the stove tires you now, and the grocery store has become a place of bright lights and long aisles. You cancel the eye appointment. You put off the hearing test. You sit longer than you used to. You reach less. You climb less. You ask less. None of these look like mistakes. Each one looks like being sensible. Each one looks like taking care of yourself. And that is exactly why they are so dangerous. Because underneath the sensible behavior is a thought, and underneath the thought is a belief, and underneath the belief is a fear. Let us go one layer deeper to what we tell ourselves. The thought sounds reasonable. It sounds like a wise elder speaking. It says, at my age, I have to be careful. It says, I do not want to overdo it. It says, better safe than sorry. It says, I have earned the right to rest. And every one of those sentences is true in a certain light. My friend, I would never take those sentences from you. Rest is holy. Caution is wisdom. You have earned it. But listen closely, because language is a slippery thing after 70. There is a difference between I am resting because my body has done a great deal today, and I am resting because I am afraid of what will happen if I move. There is a difference between I am being careful on the stairs, and I am no longer going upstairs at all. There is a difference between I will drink water in the morning to protect my sleep, and I have not had a full glass of water since Tuesday. The words sound almost the same, but one grows out of stewardship and the other grows out of fear, and they lead to entirely different lives. Now we go deeper still to the belief underneath the thought. And here, my friend, is where I must be honest with you. Because I love you too much to be anything else. The quiet belief that shapes so much of life after 70 is this. Decline is inevitable, and my job now is to manage the decline. That is the belief. Nobody taught it to you directly. You absorbed it from 1,000 small places, from television, from the way people spoke to your own mother in her last decade, from the sighs of well-meaning nurses, from the pamphlets in doctors' offices. Manage the decline, slow the fall, preserve what you can. Do not expect more, and once that belief settles into a person, everything changes. Because if decline is the only possible direction, then every day becomes a small act of surrender. You stop asking, what could I build this year, and start asking, what can I still hold on to? You stop drinking the water, because in the story of managed decline, the water is only a nuisance. You stop the walk because in the story of managed decline, the walk is only a risk. You stop the phone call because in the story of managed decline, the forgotten name is only more evidence. And underneath even that belief, my friend, underneath the belief that decline is your only remaining road, lives the root fear. And the root fear is not death. The root fear is becoming a burden to the people you love. It is the fear that your daughter will have to leave her job to care for you. It is the fear that your son will look at you one day the way you once looked at your own father, with that mixture of love and quiet grief. It is the fear that the grandchildren will remember you as the one they had to be gentle around, rather than the one who taught them to fish. That is the fear doing the driving, not the water, not the walk, not the phone call. The fear. And here, halfway through our conversation, I want to pause and ask you something. If any of this has touched a true place in you, if you have felt that voice, that fear, that small, quiet surrender in your own week, I would like you to do something for me. Somewhere in the comments below this video, simply type the word hope. That is all. Just those 4 letters. Not because I need to see them, my friend, but because you need to write them. Because the act of typing that word tonight with your own hand is a small declaration that the story of managed decline is not the only story available to you. Type hope and let us keep going together. Now, having named the fear, I want to gently, very gently begin to release it. Because the story we have just walked through, the story of inevitable decline that so many older adults carry in silence, is not what the researchers are actually finding. And this is the part I most want you to hear tonight. Researchers at Harvard Medical School, in their long work on adult development, have observed something that surprised even them. They found that the trajectory of a person's later years is far less determined by genetics than we once believed, and far more determined by daily habits of movement, hydration, connection, and purpose. In their observations, adults in their 70s and 80s, who maintained even modest daily routines of walking, water, and warm relationships did not simply decline more slowly. Many of them entered a season of stability that lasted years longer than their doctors had predicted. Not youth, not reversal, something better in a way. Steadiness, a long, quiet plateau of capable living. The Mayo Clinic has documented something similar in its work on healthy aging, noting that many of the losses we assume are caused by age itself are in fact caused by disuse, by the very carefulness that fear puts upon us. Muscles that are not asked to lift grow weaker, and weaker muscles make us more afraid to lift, and so we ask less of them, and they grow weaker still. It is a loop, my friend, and the loop does not begin in the body. It begins in the belief. The National Institute on Aging has spent decades observing older adults across many communities and has arrived at a quiet, hopeful conclusion that the single greatest predictor of independence after 70 is not the absence of illness. It is the presence of small, repeated ordinary acts: a glass of water in the morning, a short walk after lunch, a phone call before supper, a full night of sleep, one conversation that matters. Not heroic acts, ordinary ones, repeated ones, the kind that a person could do in a housecoat, at their own kitchen table without anyone applauding. Do you hear what the researchers are actually saying, my friend? They are not saying you must fight aging. They are not saying you must pretend to be younger than you are. They are saying something far more tender than that. They are saying that the ordinary faithful rhythms of your day, the ones you are perfectly capable of keeping, matter far more than any of us were ever told. They are saying that the belief in managed decline is, in a great many cases, simply not true. And they are saying it kindly, the way a wise physician might sit beside you and say, "You have more road ahead of you than you think." So now, having heard that, let us turn to the inner voice. Because the outer practice cannot change until the inner voice changes first. The old inner voice said, "At my age, I have to be careful." The new inner voice, my friend, says something a little different. It says, "At my age, I have to be faithful. Faithful to the small things. Faithful to the water. Faithful to the walk. Faithful to the phone call. Faithful to the person my maker made me to be, right up until the last evening." The old voice said, "I do not want to overdo it." The new voice says, "I do not want to underdo it either. Underdoing has a cost too, and I am only now learning what that cost is." The old voice said, "Better safe than sorry." The new voice, gentler and truer, says, "Better faithful than frozen." Because a life managed only by the avoidance of risk is not really a life. It is a waiting room, and you, my friend, were not made for a waiting room. The old voice said, "I am becoming a burden, and oh, how I want to sit with you a moment on that one." Because the new voice on this, the true voice, says something the old voice never dared say. It says, "The people who love me do not experience my presence as a burden. They experience my absence as one." Read that again slowly if you need to. The people who love you do not carry your presence as weight. They carry the thought of losing you as weight. The daily glass of water you drink, the walk you take to the mailbox, the phone call you make on a Tuesday afternoon, these are not you asking less of them. These are you giving more of yourself to them, for longer. That is not burden, my friend, that is gift. And so at last we come to the outer practice. Because a shift in the inner voice must eventually walk itself out into the ordinary daylight, or it will fade before morning, the outer practice is smaller than you think. Tonight, before you sleep, set a single glass of water on your bedside table and drink half of it when you wake. That is one. Tomorrow, when the light is good and the sidewalk is dry, walk to the end of your driveway and back. No farther if you do not wish, but no shorter either. That is two. Before supper tomorrow, call one person you love and let the conversation be a little longer than usual, even if you forget a word or two along the way. The people who love you are not keeping score. That is three. Tomorrow night, when the house grows quiet, go to bed a half hour earlier than you did tonight, because sleep is where the body does its faithful repair work while you rest in its keeping. That is four. And the fifth, my friend, the fifth is the one I most want for you. Tomorrow, at some point in the ordinary middle of the day, catch that old inner voice when it begins to whisper, "Manage the decline," and answer it gently, out loud if you must, with the new words. I am not managing a decline. I am keeping faith with a life. Do those 5 small things, not perfectly, not heroically, but faithfully. And I promise you, on the observation of Harvard and Mayo and Johns Hopkins and Cleveland Clinic and the National Institute on Aging, and on the older, quieter authority of every elder I have ever known who aged with dignity, the road ahead is longer and steadier than the fear has told you. So tonight, my friend, rest well. Drink your water. Walk tomorrow, even if only to the mailbox. Call someone you love, and stay on the line a little longer than feels comfortable. And when you turn out the lamp beside your chair, do it slowly, the way a person turns out a lamp in a house they intend to live in for a good while yet. Peace be with you, my friend, and I will see you here again at this same quiet table very soon.